take garbage and make it shine. This whole project is asinine. Waste some time with me, I can guarantee this old junk will soon toe the line.
We polishing turds, mediocrity curd. I can't find the words, this song is absurd. We're polishing turds, we're polishing turds.
Alright, it's time to drop the crank in this thing. In this case, it's a brand new Cali's Comp Star 3750 stroke King main bearings. Let's slide this thing in. Alrighty, crank is in the block, torque down, freely spinning. That's important. It sounds dumb, but like it's a basic check. When you torque everything in your block, your crank should still spin. Sounds elemental, but in my experience and way in the past, you know, if I had something torqued together, clearance says we're good, but sometimes you can have something when you torque it together, it feels a little funny. Well, if it feels funny, something's probably not right, you know, and you have to kind of build up a judgment of how it should feel. A motor like this has a rear main seal in it already, so it's kind of got a little drag to it. The lube we use has a lot of drag, but still, things should turn freely. If it doesn't, something's wrong. You need to stop and figure out why, regardless of what your clearance says. Figure out what's tight, you know. But anyhow, all that's good. It's time to put the pistons in. We've already got them out, deburred them, put them on the rings on the pistons. These are Wiseco domes. This is 40 over deal, 4040 bore. This is Comp Star rod, kind of an inexpensive H-beam type deal, plenty strong enough for something like this. And we have coated the skirts, or actually Brian at Line to Line has coated the skirts. We use him because he's also real good at doing stuff. He coats a ton of our pistons that we use around here. And these are coated, and they're a braidable coating. Usually when we run this, we'll set the clearance up a little tight and let it wear in. And The stuff works really good and it's really tough. We put it through a lot of abuse in some of these high-powered turbo deals, and it takes a licking, keeps on ticking. So anyhow, let's shove these down in the holes real careful like, and be one more step ahead. Alright, one of the things you need to check on an engine like this when you're putting it together, any dome engine, is cylinder head to dome clearance. You need to make sure the dome's clear, aren't going to crash into the head at 8,000 RPM. You do this by bolting the head on the motor with no head gasket and turning it over. The reason you do that because you want to kind of simulate where that piston might be at high RPM, not just where it is when you're cranking it over with the ratchet. So let's, I've already got some dye on here because I anticipate a problem. And then let's just bolt one of these dudes down. Real quick. Turn the motor over. Boom. She hits. I'm going to do it again so I got a mark. Okay, we're hitting right here by the spark plug a little bit. So we'll take this back in the grinding room and relieve this and see what it takes to get it to free up. We'll have to do this process several times and on every hole to confirm before we get it where we want it. But it's a little bit of work, but you got to do this. If you don't, you can have problems. If you just put it together with the head gasket, there's a pretty good chance it might turn over fine. But it's not going to be happy when you spin this thing up. Alright, now we've got, we can continue on with more assembly. We got the cam in, we got a chain on. And one of the important parts of any racing engine is making sure that your valve train is timed correctly to the crankshaft, or something that's generally called degreeing the camshaft. This is not gonna be a tutorial on degreeing camshafts. I'm sure there's probably 30,000 of them on YouTube. So there's probably no reason to go over that. We'll go over just the basics of it. First thing we're gonna do is we got a degree wheel on here. We're gonna find where true top dead center is. That's gonna tell us where our crankshaft is. And basically the quick rundown is got an indicator on it. Kind of come up to 0. I got a little pointer here. I put it right as close as I can to 0. And then I'm gonna back up a good bit and come forward to 50 thousandths before top dead center. I use a long ratchet, well, because it helps you control it a little bit. If you use a short one, it's a little bit of a trick. Right to 50, that's about 12 or so. Go back to the other side on the way down. It's about 11. We're just a little off. Move it just a frog here. Do the same thing again. Eleven and a half. 11 and a half. So now our pointer is correct. We can go right to top dead center and be 0. So now we're going to carry this indicator over to the intake lobe of the camshaft on number 1 and do the same thing there and see where that center line is in relation to the crankshaft. And then we're going to, if necessary, we'll move our camshaft adjustment until we achieve what we're looking for. So let's do that. Alright, we got the cam spun in degreed where we want it to be exactly. I had to advance it 2 degrees on the chain to get that right. But it's right where we want it. If anybody wants to know the specs are big and nasty. And that's as far as we're going to get with that. Matter of fact, turns out that's the same spec as all HED cams, big and nasty. The reason I do that is because a lot of times if people know the cam, they'll blame the cam for everything. If they don't know it, they can't do that. And no matter what the cam is, there's always going to be somebody say that that's the stupidest cam in the world. You're an idiot for using it, and if you don't know it, then you can't tell me that. So that's the end of that. All right, a couple more things about the valve train here before we put the cover on. When you're not using a flat tappet cam in a small block Chevrolet, you need something to control the thrust, and I use an aluminum button. It's kind of low tech, but you don't have to worry about these things coming apart. I think they work great. I don't know why you want to use anything else. So this goes in right in here behind the retainer plate where you lock the bolts in, and it keeps the cam from thrusting forward and back any more than you want it to. And the reason this is important because when that thing moves, your cam gear moves as well, and your timing will change. So by keeping this more positively located, your timing is more consistent, and that's always a good thing. You don't want your cam just moving around in there. Flat tappet cam has a little bit of a rake ground into it. I think the purpose of that is actually to spin the lifter, but one of the effects is it constantly thrusting the cam back slightly so it doesn't walk forward. So we take that out. With a solid roller cam, we got to have some way of controlling it. And I use these. This is a lock plate. And once we get that on there, we got an adjustable billet pointer here. We're going to put this on and then do the same process we did a minute ago with finding TDC and set this so that TDC is TDC. Anyhow, let's put all this crap on.
Mediocrity can. I can't find the words. This song is absurd. We're polishing turds. We're polishing turds.